Come on, we can't get too fit now.
No.
That just wouldn't be us.
No.
Stop resisting it. We love moose tracks. Have you ever wanted to do something like work out more, make some extra money, or just be more consistent, but you find yourself falling back into the same old habits? You might be dealing with something I've dealt a lot with, which is called self-sabotage. And in her book, Stop Self Sabotage, Judy Ho gives us a lot of information on how to overcome this. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing how to know when it's happening, why we might be self-sabotaging ourselves, and how to actually overcome self-sabotage. So how do we know if self-sabotage is showing up in our life? In the book, the author talks about 6 self-sabotage triggers that are great indicators for if self-sabotage is going to be showing up. I want to quickly highlight 3 of the ones that stood out most to me in my life, and maybe you'll feel the same. First is catastrophizing. This is basically when you take a situation and you dramatize it in a negative way. Let's say you want to go up to someone attractive. Catastrophizing would be,
well, what if they don't like me? Well, what if I pee on myself? Well, what if I trip and fall and I'm embarrassed and everyone in the room looks at me and laughs?
That is an example of making a situation way worse than it actually would be, and then that convinces you to not even go up to that person in the first place. This can also be seen with like auditioning or going for job interviews. Well, what if I apply and I don't even get it? Second is shoulds. Saying what other people and you should be doing, keeping yourself and others to an extremely high standard that is really not realistic. I should have woken up this morning at this time. I should be doing these things. But if you don't do those things, then you beat yourself up. Or if other people don't do those things, you make yourself feel better by pulling them down and saying how terrible they are. But really that's rooted in insecurity, which is also a part of self-sabotage. The third self-sabotage trigger that really stood out to me, and a great way to know if self-sabotage is showing up in your life, is mind reading. This is a really good one, guys, because this is when you're interacting with someone and you try to read their mind and guess what they're saying. But quite often you don't see it as a guess, you see this as,
no, this is 100% what they are thinking.
when you actually have no idea. Imagine you went on a first date with someone and you text them after the date and say, hey, I had a lot of fun. And 30 minutes go by, they don't reply. An hour goes by, a day, a week. And then immediately the mind starts,
yeah, they must not have had a good time. They must have this, they must have that.
have you ever done that where you're like, oh, this person hates me? You know, you're projecting onto someone what you really think about yourself in that specific situation. Because when you begin to put those words into other people's mouths, that then changes the way you show up, which then can cause you to show up in a way that really is not for your best outcome. So those are the 3 triggers I would really keep an eye out for in your life to see if self-sabotage is showing up.
Why does self-sabotage show up in the first place?
According to Stop Self Sabotage, life is why it shows up. It's actually a really great acronym. L meaning low or shaky self-image. I being internalized beliefs. F is the fear of the unknown or the future / uncertainty. And finally, the one I deal with the most is E, excessive need for control. In the book, Dr. Judy Ho actually has a box where you can like rank yourself on specific situations and you come up with a score to see which one of these life elements can really be causing you the most self-sabotage stress. Things I noticed in myself were low, shaky self-image and also that excessive need for control. And that alone connects to our last point of how you overcome self-sabotage. When you understand, okay, here are the triggers that could trigger me possibly. Here are the life elements that can stand out to me. That alone can be enough to stop self-sabotage in its tracks. But another great strategy, which is rooted in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is creating something called a thought record. So this is basically when you remap a situation that made you upset and you work your way back from the action all the way to the original event that triggered you in the first place. This thought record is really saying, hey, let me look at the event that just happened. Let me take a step back. How was I feeling about myself in that moment? Okay, let me take a step back. What thoughts got me to feel that way in the beginning? What was I thinking to myself? Okay, let me take a step back. What event actually triggered me to have those thoughts in the first place? This is a really great way for you to kind of map out objectively what happened. That thought record alone can give you the ability to step back and say, wow, this is absolutely ridiculous. I was not thinking logically at all. Let me move forward this way. And also, it lets you be ready for next time you encounter an event like that. And beforehand, you can think, uh-oh, I'm going into this type of event. I know that self-sabotage tends to show up here, so let me be ready for it. So as a quick review, we covered self-sabotage triggers that might be actually showing up in your life so you can actually recognize that self-sabotage is something that you're dealing with. We covered why we self-sabotage ourselves through that life acronym and diving deeper into those life elements. And then finally, we talked about how to overcome self-sabotage using a tool such as the thought record. But really being able to recognize the triggers and being able to recognize what might be causing you to get triggered in that certain way can sometimes be enough to interrupt the pattern. If you got value from this video, please leave it a thumbs up. I'm trying to be more consistent with my content and just trying to get better on camera and just build a rhythm. So it really means a lot to have that support and also help this reach even more people. Until next time, I appreciate you guys so much for sticking around to the end here, and keep your eye out for self-sabotage, and I will see you in the next video.